Um, so I had a dream. In my dream, I was at my brother's volleyball game, my younger brother's volleyball game, and my older brother's basketball game. Um, I was there with my sister, and I don't know if she brought me there. She must have or something. Um, so we were there, but I seen a whole bunch of, people that I used to go to school with. And there was this one girl that I went to school with. Um, and she was dating my brother. She, um, we didn't like each other. But it's weird because she was mixed with a person that I didn't like. But then she was originally a person that I knew and I got along with just fine. But then it's like she was angry at me. And this guy kept popping up. This guy that I used to talk to as a friend, like nothing more. Um, we talked as a friend, as friends. Like we didn't even get intimate. It was nothing. It was just friends. He's actually the only guy that I was friends with without, it turning into it turning into anything else. So yeah. And it was her boyfriend. But like I said, we was just friends. It was nothing more than just friends. We would talk to each other about stuff we was going through until, eventually we didn't. Um, his name was Asante. And it was the girl's boyfriend, and her name was Misha. Um, so she got with my brother, and we didn't even know, she had anything. She was mad about anything. And she came to us and she was showing, when I say us, it's me and my sister at the time. She came to us and she was showing us this powder stuff in some type of case she had. And I don't know what it was, but it just triggered something in me to where I'm like, my brother don't like any funny business or something like that. But while she was showing me, she was also talking about, her ex. Like, I know you was talking to him or something like that. I don't know what she was mad about, but it's just like it affected her or something. I don't know if she knew, but obviously she knew something because she was coming at me weird, you know. So then I'm just like, I'm back. I'm sitting there like, what is that you got in your hand? Like that powder stuff. What is that? And then she was like, I brought it to my brother's attention, and he was like, what? Like, he was kind of confused. He was like, what? Like, what powder stuff? What are you talking about? And I'm like, I'm going to my sister. I'm like, remember, she was this and that, and she was talking about her ex and this. And my sister never really backs up what I say. Like, she act like she don't know. Not in real life, but in this dream. She act like she ain't know what I was talking about. So then I'm just like, wow, here we go again. They making it seem like, I'm just making this stuff up. But eventually everything started coming out and he started seeing what I was seeing. And he was like, she start, it's like she wasn't in control or something. And she showed him the powder. And she showed him, and she started talking, explaining to him what was in her hand. But what she was explaining wasn't the truth. It didn't go with what was in her hand. Like, she tried to deny it, but at the same time, it's in your hand, so you can't deny what's right there in front. Like, why is you lying with this right here in your hand? You saying it's not this and it's not that, but it's right there in your hand. Like, so I'm just like, wow. And then he was like, so how did all this start or something like that? I'm just like, well, she came to me and she started going off on me about her ex-boyfriend. And I'm just like, I was confused. I'm like, why is you bringing up your ex-boyfriend to me or something like that? So that's what I told him. I was like, she started going off on me about her ex-boyfriend. And that part right there just made him feel uncomfortable. And he like, what? Like, why is you worried about your ex-boyfriend if you and me? And then that threw him off as well. And he just like, hold up. Like, he had to pause and he was like, I guess they had a baby together. So he went to the bathroom and he took the baby with him. He was like, me and my baby need to go, I don't know what the heck what that was all about, but we just started laughing. But yeah, he just needed to step away from that situation with her. It was just like it wasn't making sense to him. The fact that she lying and you're lying about something that's just obvious, and then you're you're mad and you're attacking me, basically his sister, about your ex. Like, that was years ago. Obviously you haven't had closure to the situation. So that happened. And then after that, I went I was walking past somewhere and my sister was explaining this guy that she liked. I'm like, you like him? And she was like, yeah. And then she walked away and she went somewhere and he came up to me and he was like, he was showing me something and I'm just looking away from him like, what? So I'm looking away from him. And then I'm like, what? All right, come here. So he came over there. He was like, your sister got me this ring. And it was like a crystal. It was like a nice crystal ring. I'm like, what? Why would she give you a ring? And so yeah, she gave him a ring because she liked him. Like, she really, really liked him. I'm like, wow. And they wasn't even together. Like, I think he said he wasn't even interested in her. He's not interested in her. Obviously he just using her because he got that ring. So, I think I brought this to her attention as well. But then I got sidetracked and I'm just like, hold up, because you look a little bit too familiar. I'm like, who are you? I'm like, hold up, ain't your name Will? And she was like, I think he said his name was Will or something like that. No, he said his name was a different name. I'm like, but you look familiar. I know who you is. Like, I'm just like, why is you in the same grade as my sister? You supposed to be, I'm like, how old is you? I'm like, you supposed to be graduating with me. Therefore, you're the same age as me. Like, hold up. Like, I'm getting a little bit overprotective right now. That's what I'm giving. So I'm just like, who? No. I'm just like, no. Like, and I wound up bringing this up to my sister, and she was like, what? What are you talking about? And then eventually, like, we stepped out and we just, like, had a personal talk. Like, well, we don't understand something. We get together and we get clarity together. So we stepped down, we talk, and I'm like, oh, okay. So then that's when it kind of hit me right there. I'm like, all right. So that's not him. I'm like, that's his brother. I'm like, okay, so his brother, his older brother that looks just like him, like they look like twins. I'm like, his older brother is the one I went to school with, but this guy is not. This is his little brother that looked just like him. And then we got that clarity, and we're like, all right, cool. So then we went back into there. I'm like, okay, I know what it is now. And I didn't even talk to him after that. I was just like, I got my clarity. I know who you is, this and that. So me going back in there, I ran into this guy. On my way back in there, I ran into this guy or something. And then he was like, I don't know, he pushed me. I think he pushed me down into a chair or something. And I stood up. I'm like, who was you pushing? And I was like, I was small at the time. Like, I was shorter than him. So I put my shoe back on and I got real bigger than him. Like, taller than him. And I was like, hold on, let me put my shoe on. And I got up and I stood up and I was looking down and I'm like, who is you pushing? And he was like, uh, he was just, I don't even think he responded. So then, um, something happened after that. So okay, so I went and I guess this guy, I don't know what happened between him, but I wound up freaking like, it seemed like a wrestler type move. Like, I wound up grabbing him by his legs and dropping him to the floor where he hit his head. And then I guess I was showing him that, like, you can't get over on me no more. Like, you can't bully me no more. You know, you can't make it seem like, y'all can't touch me. Okay, so I was basically reacting on him to show everybody around them that if you try to touch me, this is what's going to happen to y'all. So that's what happened. Like, I wound up dropping him to the floor and then just to prove a point to them because, if you don't, then. So I was proving a point to them, but then I wanted to recognize, well, I didn't recognize him, but he recognized me. So I'm helping him up. Like, it was just some type of, like, um, I don't know. Like, I'm helping him. He actually got hurt, though. But I'm helping him up. And then as he grabbed my hands, I grabbed his hands. And, we just kind of come close to each other. And eventually we start kissing. It was weird. And then he was like, he shook his head. I'm like, what? And he was like, I dated you before. I'm like, huh? He was like, yeah, I dated you before. We was together. Um, we was just together. And I'm like, what? Like, I was confused, and he took out these pictures or something. He was like, you remember this day? And I was like, oh, yeah, I remember that day. Oh, we was together. Like, we was together, but you act like we wasn't. It's just like, it was confusing because I was looking at the picture. I'm just like, so then we wound up walking over to this one area, like, to kind of get some clarity or get some time alone. And he was just explaining to me. And then while he was explaining to me, this other girl popped up and she was just standing there. And I guess that's the person he was with now. So he's showing me the pictures. And I'm just like, you know, even though we was together, you didn't treat it like we was dating each other. We had these papers out, and I don't know what I was doing. It's like we had this thing that was just, I guess it was like a title. It was a title to where, like, if you were in a relationship with somebody, you would fill out this title or something. this form, or this was our title, like our status, but it's like this form you had to, you had to engage with or something. I don't know what it was. But then I'm like we was together, but you was weird about everything. Like you didn't even really come close to me. You didn't, we kissed one time, but it was just like it just didn't seem like we was together. But then the girl behind me was explaining the same thing. She was like, "Yeah, it's the same way for us." Like she's currently in a relationship with him. She was like, "Yeah, it's the same way for us. Like the same thing you're explaining, I'm going through right now with him." And I'm like, "Wow, he just won't change. He's still the same." So I don't know why I kissed him. I kissed him. When I kissed him, I didn't know who he was. He was just an attractive guy to me. But then I guess he recognized me and he told me who he was. And I'm like, wow, that's actually you. It's actually you. His name is Lee. I was like, oh, it's actually you. I'm like, wow, because his appearance was completely different. He did not look the same, but he was acting the same. Like he was the same person. But he just didn't look the same. I'm like, wow, you changed so much. Like, you're actually really, really attractive. So yeah. So after that, my sister. Well, I was sitting with somebody. I was sitting with these girls. Like we was talking, and I guess I was telling them about the people that I knew. And my sister said she had a problem with the one girl who was really, really good at sports. And I was like, I know her. She used to talk to my brother, and her name was India. And I'm like she had really, really long hair. Like she was so pretty. I'm like, and she was like, I don't like, or she was like, she came at me a certain way. Like I ain't like the way she came at me. I'm like, well, she's really, really good, and she know what she doing. So, if you, she was like, I was like, basically, you would just take anything that she tell you as a lesson, because basically she just telling, because that's what she used to do with me. She used to tell me, basically prepare me for what was going on. Like I think in high school or something, because I wound up talking to her and her sister. I knew her and her sister, but they knew my brother, so they was giving me advice about what to expect going forward. So that's why I was telling her. I'm like, I was telling my sister, I'm like, even though you don't like her, she real wise and she know what she talking about. So it's just like anything that she's telling you, take it as a lesson. Note it down, because she's only preparing you for what you're going to go through later on. She's preparing you. And she was like, oh, okay. Like she just started, she was like, all right, okay. So then back to the situation with me, my brother, the friend that was mad about her boyfriend. So then so we wind up, they're about to leave, so I'm kissing my brother on his cheek, and I'm just like, all right, you know, I'm telling them bye or something. I'm like, bye, I'll see y'all later, this and that. Like we all telling each other bye. So they get in the car with my sister. They about to leave with my sister. Well, my brother and his girlfriend's about to leave with my sister. Because I guess my sister is going to get them some food or something like that. Like, she always giving. Like, she's giving, giving, giving to people all the time. So, my other brother, was there. That's who we originally came for, but my other brother wanted to be in there too. So, um, it's just better when I say the names, but I'm trying not to freaking say any more names. So then we wind up sitting, um, we wound up sitting with, no, we wound up, so I wound up being in this group, and we sitting there, well, it was after the fact. Okay, so my sister wound up seeing, like, after I did that little fight thing, my sister wound up reacting on this guy, I guess to prove a point. That's what I thought it was. I feel like she basically was doing what she did. Like, she wound up hurting this guy. She stabbed this guy in his eye. And it wound up being somebody's brother, and they was real mad about it. Like, they was ready to attack her or something. And it was like, I was like, wow, like maybe she's reacting off of what I just did. That's what I started explaining to this group of people that was with me. I'm like, maybe she's reacting because she feel like she has to prove herself now. And I'm just like, I'm explaining to them like I was explaining to them my whole situation. I'm just like, dang, I feel like I was explaining to them to kind of so that they can let up on her. And I'm just like, well, she's only acting this way because I was, I always had to fight. I always had to feel like Medea right now. All my life I had to fight. But yeah, I always had to fight. Like I always had to defend myself, fend for myself against everyone. It was always me. If it was 5 person, it was only, if it was 5 people, it was only me. If it was 7 people, it was only me. If it was 3 people, it was only me. And I was explaining this to them, and I'm just like, I have a reason for what I'm doing, and I am, I'm doing this because, of my past experience. I have to do this because of my past experience. And maybe she was just, she felt like she had to do it, following after what I did, but I'm not trying to lead her in that way. I'm just, you know, in the midst of me, um, in the midst of me living, she's imitating. So it's just like I have to be careful what I'm doing, especially when she's watching. So, and then the one girl in the back is like, what this got to do with anything? Like, she ready to attack her. She like, what this got to do with anything? What is you talking about? Like, what does this have to do with anything? And that girl I'm talking about in the back is India. Like, she always hype and ready for anything. So she was like, yeah, she was like, what this got to do with anything? Like, they trying to calm her down, but at the same time, people coming over to and comforting me to the situation. And I'm just trying to figure out, I'm like, what the heck? Why did she attack that guy? And I'm looking at the guy because the ambulance came for the little brother that was attacked of the other brother. And she wound up speeding off her, my brother and his girlfriend wound up darting off. I guess they went to go get the food. Like, she didn't and was just like gone. So then I'm just like I'm sitting here trying to figure out what happened. So I wind up realizing what actually happened. What happened was there was this black stuff that came from the guy's eyes that nobody seen but her. It was a black liquid stuff or sandy stuff. It was black sandy stuff coming from the guy's eyes that she was looking into. She was looking at him and some black sandy stuff was coming from his eyes. And she didn't understand. Like, she just reacted. Like, she got scared and basically off of instinct she stabbed him in the eye with a knife because of what she's seen. And I understood that and I seen that because eventually I was cleaning out my ears with some Q-tips. And man, I'm cleaning out my ear and it's going from one ear to the other. Like, I'm literally sticking a Q-tip in and it's coming out and I'm sticking it in my right ear and it's coming out my left ear. Like, I'm like, what the heck? And I'm pulling it through my left ear and it's coming out my right ear. And then when it comes out, I see this black stuff. It was like a black and white stuff coming out. I'm like, what is going on? Like, it started dripping everywhere. And I'm just like, I, I'm holding it. And the 2 girls in front of me is like, what is you looking at? What is you doing? I'm like, this black stuff just came out my ears. And it's like all over my hands. I'm like, do y'all see this? And like, they're like, no. Like, and then they say, yeah. Like, I see black stuff on your fingernail. I'm like, no, do you see the black sandy stuff coming out of my ears? And I'm just basically like, wow, I'm putting 2 and 2 together. I'm just like, okay, so she's seeing what was coming out his eyes, the same thing that was coming out my ears. And I'm like, basically, and I was freaked out. I was like, literally, I was really freaked out by whatever was coming out my ears. And I'm like, she had the same feeling when she attacked him. When she attacked him um, for the same reason, for the same reason. Like she had the same feeling when she attacked him for what was coming out his eyes, and it was the same thing that's coming out my ears. I'm just like, wow. So I was just putting two together. I'm like, so we're no different. That could have been me she attacked because what was in his eyes is the same thing that's coming out my ears. So therefore, it's like if it was to happen to me, what would have happened? Because she attacked him, but if I was in his shoes at that time, would she had attacked me for the same reason? Because what was happening to him was the same thing that was happening to me. So yeah, that was my dream. And yeah, it was pretty crazy, but that was my full dream. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, be notified, share at your own free will to show you care. And I will see y'all next time.